So actuation count is interesting for input data because it is 2 bytes, but it is not in a sequential order where they are combined together to make one large number. We actually designed it so you can fit more than just the bytes given, and this is how, because we represent the first one as a placeholder. So, for example, if I have a 1 here, that is equal to 255 plus the number down here. So I have 36, or sorry, this is not a byte representation. Let's say I have, this would be 7. So I have 255 plus 7. Let's say this is a 2, it'd be 255 times 2. So to represent that in decimal on the node red side, we have to do a little math, a little bit shifting. Actually, I'm sorry, we don't have to do bit shifting. We just need to multiply the position in the array that is the placeholder. So I'm going to call this combined actuation count. So I take any number that is in input data and multiply it by 255. So if I have the number 32 in there, that means I have a whole lot of presses. And then we just add our other index to it. So now we can take combined actuation count, and I'll just set it to the same thing. And if you are not using a Series 4X, you can reference the TRM from our website for any of our Caneo series buttons. I will also have pictures up and a link in the description for the TRMs. And that is all of the input process data. We have brightness, actuation strength, the combined actuation count, the actuation flag, and then each digital input. And we can test if we did this correctly by adding a debug to it. Let me clear this out. It helps to touch the button sometimes, I find. Makes it send data quicker when there's changes. So we can see right here that we have our combined actuation count and each of the pins. Pin 4, I believe, is the IO-Link communication. You wouldn't use that in your PLC program. I'm not exactly sure why it's in the input process data, but it is there for use. So now that we have MQT data from our IO-Link master on node red, we can go into a use case. And for this, I'm going to be showing you how to graph the actuation count. This would be useful in a robust WMS system to help track the efficiency of your operators for a particular machine. So to just start, I'm going to give it a date. And add that to our JSON. And then it helps to turn it into a string, because in JavaScript, it will be an object. And that is supposed to be date. And another thing we can do is take the values out that we don't need by adding another function block. So I'm going to provide a name for this use case. So Tyler is going to be the employee operating on this specific port 1, or port 0, I guess I should say. And then we can grab the payload.dates. I'll put the date value in there. And then message.payload. Believe it was combined actuation count. Let me double check. Yep, so I'm just going to copy and paste this. And you don't have to make values for each one of them. You could just do name equals Tyler, but I'm trying to simulate pulling this data from a WMS system. So, and it is not data. I do not know why I keep typing that. No. Escape. Change date. And then the actuation count. Let's make sure that this works again. If I press the button a couple times, I should see some stuff. And the date is undefined. That is interesting. What did I do wrong? Date. What is wrong with this thing? Message.payload.date. Did I spell payload right? count. I see the error. The error was that I named it data and not date. So now if I deploy, and I can clear it out. There we have our date in a string format. So the next thing you want to do is set up our influx DB. So to do that, we need to find the IP address, and I'm using Docker inspect with influx DB and searching for the IP address. So as you can see here, our IP address is 172.30.0.4, and then we need to add the port that we have influx on. So influx is up and ready, and we need to create our password and username. And then I'm going to call this CAPTRON, and our initial bucket is going to be impact process data. Keep things simple. The naming convention is the same. This is weird. Am I zoomed out? Yeah, there we go. And we get this token right here. You want to go ahead and copy that and head over back to Node-RED. So then we search for influx, and it looks like I don't have it installed. So what we can do, I don't remember exactly how to do this. Eileen, you can cut this part out. All right, so to get to it, let me make sure I have. Influx DB. Okay. All right, 3, 2, 1. So to get the influx DB functions in, you want to go to user settings, and you want to go and install and just search influx DB, and it will be this one. Install. And then we can look up influx DB out and add that. And let me scroll over a little bit. Too far. So let's go ahead and create a new influx DB server. So now we can start sending data to influx DB by using the influx DB out function, and I'm just going to call this port 0 actuation count. And then we need to add a server and change this to version 2.0. And here we can then change the server to the IP address that we set. So in Docker, so it'd be 0.30.0.4, and then copy and paste that token created. If you didn't do that, you can always create a new token. It will only let you copy and paste it once. And I'll just call this influx DB. Once we add it, we need to define the organization and the bucket we're putting our data into. This is what we did on the influx DB side. And then we define the measurement, which is basically giving our data a name so we can view it in Node-RED, or sorry, influx DB. So if I clear this out and then go and press my button a couple of times, it looks like we got a connection refused. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe if we add this part, clear it out again. Looks like we are sending data to influx, so I can open up influx, go to impact process data, and then search for port 0. And then we want the actuation count and time, name. Put it to the past 15 minutes. It's not looking like it's showing up. That's odd. Let me press the button a couple more times and maybe it will show up. And there we go. So for the past 5 minutes, you can see the actuation count, value 52, and it went up to 74. So if you had a lot of machines operating on this with a lot of iLink masters, this graph would fill up very quickly, and you could see like, hey, Tyler is on port 0. He's not doing as great as Sean or someone else. I think this would be a very good use case for our buttons. And MQTT is starting to become more and more popular. And mixing data in your manufacturing process is inevitable. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe.